The Vancouver Canucks re-signed general manager Jim Benning to a 3-year contract extension. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe. Let's take a look at this move by the Vancouver Canucks. So the Canucks bring back general manager Jim Benning on the final year of his contract, so he still has this season coming up, and then he has another 3 years after the season. So he's here for the next 4 years with the Vancouver Canucks. Kind of surprised that the Canucks made this move, in all honesty. I thought they would have wanted to wait to see how the season went with the new additions like Tyler Myers, just to see how good this team can play. If they didn't make the playoffs, there would be more pressure on Jim Benning. But now he has this 3-year contract extension. He may not feel as much pressure to make a move that he otherwise wouldn't make, which may end up being a good thing for the Canucks. So, taking a look at some of the recent trades that Jim Benning has made. He's made a decent amount. He's been there for a couple of years now with the Canucks, rebuilding the team that was really good back in the mid-2000s, went to the Stanley Cup Finals in 2011, won the President's Trophy a couple of years. They were a really good team in Vancouver, obviously led by the Sedin twins and Alex Burrows and Edler. This team was a really good hockey team, as well as Roberto Luongo in net. The Canucks had a really good thing going, just were not able to get over that hump of winning the Stanley Cup. But with the Canucks, back in 2015, Jim Benning made an interesting move, trading with a divisional rival, a regional rival in the Calgary Flames, trading for Sven Baertschi. They gave up a second-round pick for Sven Baertschi. Pretty good trade overall for Jim Benning. He's a pretty good player, Baertschi. He's had some issues staying in the lineup. He's been injured a lot. But for a second-round pick, Calgary probably could have got a first looking back. So not a bad trade there for Jim Benning. And then we start looking at some trades that you could take or leave, but looking back, it actually looks like a decent move. So Jared McCann and a 2016 second-round pick and a 4th-round pick as well go to the Florida Panthers for Eric Goodbranson, a former 3rd overall pick, and a 5th-round pick. So this was a very weird trade. I thought we all assumed that there would be a lot more out of a guy like Jared McCann, that he would feature in the top 6 in the Vancouver Canucks lineup. For an Eric Goodbranson, who had a pretty bad contract, he was coming off a pretty tough season with the Florida Panthers, and the league that seemed to be getting younger, the Vancouver Canucks, decided to take on Eric Goodbranson and his pretty awful contract, as well as having a bad season the year before. And also they gave up a second-round pick and Jared McCann, as well as a 4th-round pick. So they gave up a decent amount of assets for Goodbranson. Luckily, since then, Jim Benning's been able to unload the contract of Eric Goodbranson to the Pittsburgh Penguins. But still, nonetheless, Eric Goodbranson may not have been the guy that Jim Benning was looking for, but neither was Jared McCann, so it's kind of a split trade looking back. They did give up that second-round pick as well, though, so that's a lot of assets for a former 3rd overall pick, and that's probably why the Florida Panthers were able to get so much value for Eric Goodbranson at that time. And then another weird trade we saw, again, this is another divisional rival trade. Lyndon Vey from the Los Angeles Kings, he comes over to the Vancouver Canucks for a 2nd-round pick. So Jim Benning likes to use 2nd-round picks in a lot of trades. So honestly, I think we know what ended up happening with Lyndon Vey. He didn't work out in Vancouver. He ended up becoming a bottom 6 guy. Didn't really like his time in Vancouver, and he ended up going overseas to Europe to play. Things didn't work out, and unfortunately, they gave up a 2nd-round pick. Again, giving up draft picks in those first 3 rounds can be kind of difficult. So that was a tough one there. Then we start getting into some more controversial moves, and these are the more recent trades from general manager Jim Benning. So that summer where big-name free agents were really, there was none. It was very desolate on the market. A couple of years back, we saw the Andrew Ladd contract, the Louis Eriksson contract. That's what we're taking a look at. Louis Eriksson to the Vancouver Canucks for way too much money and way too much term. And it was pretty much a bad signing right off the bat. And he's since then There's been rumors floating around that Eriksson will be bought out by the Canucks, and it looks like they're going to stick with Louis Eriksson. I think they'd want to add more of the youth into the lineup this year, but I guess Louis Eriksson is the guy that they're going with, especially trying to make a playoff run. Maybe he helps in the Canucks down the stretch. He needs to stay healthy too, because he's had problems staying healthy and in the lineup, and he obviously hasn't had the best terms with head coach Travis Green, and I think that's been affecting the utilization of Louis Eriksson. So, other than that, we also saw them trade this summer with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Bringing in a guy, from Tampa, and it didn't, JT Miller could end up being a pretty good player, but to give up a first and a couple of other assets, it was a steep price. And considering Tampa Bay was kind of up against the wall with the salary cap, I feel like Vancouver probably could have got a more favorable, trade out of it. But nonetheless, they're bringing in guys down the middle. They have Bo Horvat. They have Elias Pettersson. They added JT Miller. So they have a pretty good group there in Vancouver down the middle. Down the wings, you have, decent depth. Bo Horvat, hopefully he could turn things around this year. They need to sign him first, but nonetheless, the Vancouver Canucks are heading into next season, and hopefully they make the playoffs. They added Tyler Myers this summer. The goaltending situation is a little bit shaky. Can we see the emergence again of Jacob Markstrom? Will he play as good as he did last year down the stretch? And will Thatcher Demko be ready to go? Hopefully taking over that starting role from Markstrom by the end of the season. So let me know what you guys think of the Vancouver Canucks re-signing Jim Benning for another 3 years. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.